Hello, I'm Kim, and today Amazon is releasing an e-version, an e-book of the book I've written called A Counselor's Companion, which is all about creative adventures for child counsellors, parents and teachers. I'm going to go through a few different parts of the book briefly for a couple of minutes just to share with you what's in it, and then it might help you think how, as an e-book, that would be advantageous because you could use it on a screen to demonstrate and open up conversations about difficult topics. So I'll begin by sharing with you a picture that Tamar drew for the book. When children have had a separation, one house has become two. It's helpful to name it as still my family, but for the children to talk about which car goes where, who lives where, is there a dog, is there a cat, what's the weather like? And we're not going to analyse children's drawings, but we're helping them express some of the challenges that they've got at the moment. The other one there is the emoji picture that Tamar developed. On the wall of my counselling rooms, I generally have one of those kimochis, nothing to do with me, which I have found particularly helpful, especially when you add confused at the top. Confused is one of the most commonly shared emotions that children tell me that they're going through. The other thing that we've got to be aware of in counselling is that there's often a reluctant client. The parent or teacher might think it's a great idea for a child to have counselling, but the young person or child themselves doesn't want that. And so in the book, there's a bit of a description of how to use what I call the yes-no buttons. So in person, of course, the young person can have these. And if it's online, I can say to them, well, look, just grab something green, something red, because I can tell you don't really want to be here. But to start with, just hold up these as your answers. It's a bit like 20 questions. And I usually say, so were you bribed to come today?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try and guess what you were bribed with. Was it more Wi-Fi time?
No.
Was it a trip to the movies with your family?
N-O.
Yeah, thought that would be. Maybe some really nice food you like pizza?
Y-E-S, yes.
Okay, I've got it. All right. So again, breaking the ice, engagement with a counselling client of any age, whether it's an adult, young person or child, is absolutely important. And the first session is often devoted to making that person feel heard, comfortable, safe. And after we've talked about confidentiality, we can play a few of these games. So I often play a Jenga game. So those of you that know Jenga, I have written on each of the tiles a question. And they're informed by my experience in narrative therapy, where we ask specific questions to open up more of an understanding about the person. So this one says, how do you balance activity and rest in your life? What do you think a team needs to be successful? How important is alone time for you? What skills are you trying to master? And what part of your culture do you enjoy? A lot of the boys say rugby or footy. It's one of those things. It's a sensitive way of inviting a conversation of what they see as culture. So let's move on to something else that's in the book. There's a picture here of a set of scales. And on one side are the fun things, the happy things, and on the other side are the scary things or the difficult things, the challenges. Now this works really well with adults too. You can use this on the Zoom whiteboard. You make like an inventory on one side, and on the other is the challenges. So that's a very helpful thing, and children can use symbols from around the room if you're working in person to represent those. So again, it might look like that if you were using the Zoom whiteboard. Just an inventory. I call it an inventory. Let's do an inventory. The other thing that can be helpful is if someone does say, oh, look, I've got a problem with my older brother. Well, I want to know how big a problem. Is it a catastrophic problem? So this picture demonstrates that. It came from something I put together for in-person work. These are conversation starters. When you introduce anything visual, the person looks at the item and not you, and that helps people talk. They don't want to be looking at your face. Okay, let's have a look at something else that might be interesting. There we go, the animal genogram. That's a very safe way for children to talk about their family members. I might say, you know, pick something for mum, for yourself, for dad, for grandma. They might pick a little turtle for one of their family members, or a tiger, or a crocodile, who knows what. And then they can place them on a piece of paper. I'll say, when you're having a really good day, what does it look like? Who's with who? Who's facing who? What's happening? And then the other thing we can do is, inevitably, every child has a troubling story. And for some, it can be so significant that we need to call child protection. But even so, what do we then do with the child? How do we support them around the traumas they've been through? Well, one of the things that I've put together is a danger box. It's a box that has all the scary stories that children want to leave with me. And I keep them tied up. And in there are scrunched up, stood on, torn, cut with scissors stories, pieces of paper. Sometimes the paper has nothing much on it than a squiggle to represent the trauma. So that's the danger box that you'll see. And every time there's a picture in the book, there's an explanation of what to do, how to use it. And you know, one of the things I say to parents when they come to me initially at their intake session is, if they say, "Oh, my child's just an angry person," they're irritable, and I say, "Oh, great! I can't wait to work with them. I love anger." And they go, "What?" Because you see, anger is something that comes at the end of other things that are happening. So again, I began using this as a kind of a psych ed resource. It's available on my website, a free PDF. And Tamar drew this lovely picture to illustrate that particular part of the chapter, which is about dealing with these big emotions. And of course, another thing that happens with children is that they experience profound loss. And how do we get children to draw their loss? We might invite them to draw a house, and each house could represent a different feeling. So this little boy, as you can see, has quite a bit of sadness there. When anyone's afraid, the brain takes over, and children need to know that. We need to do this psych ed, as we say, with the children, because otherwise they think they're being naughty or just scared or something like that. But that fight, flight, freeze is important to talk to them about. So using these friendly pictures, non-blaming, non-shaming, can be very helpful. And again, occasionally a client will bring something of themselves about therapy. And this particular young person brought a poem. Well, she made the poem in the session. She brought this yin-yang necklace, and we talked about it, and she said, "I'm going to write a poem," and she wrote a poem about it on the whiteboard, which she's happy for us to share. So I share that poem. There's a lot of wisdom in that poem. The other thing that's really helpful is the tree of life. So this is the beginning part of drawing the tree of life. We gather together the child's strengths. And again, the instructions for this are in the book. There's also the team of life, works really well with children that are involved in sports, and we use a sporting metaphor. And that particular chapter is called Who's on Your Team? So that will do. Thank you very much for listening. And today is the release of the Amazon ebook. For the first day only, it's only $1.99, but after that it will become a normal ebook price. Thank you very much.